The park was Darius's sanctuary. It was where he could sit in relative peace, his back against the rough bark of a tall oak tree while the world moved on without him. For a moment, Darius could almost forget the weight of his world. Then he heard it, a sharp cry followed by the cruel laughter of older kids. Darius's eyes snapped toward the playground, where a small boy, maybe 7 or 8, was being surrounded by a group of rough-looking boys. The boy, his face pale with fear, clutched his backpack like it was the only thing keeping him safe. "Please stop," the boy whimpered, his voice barely audible over the bully taunts. Darius's grip tightened around the worn fabric of his coat. His instinct told him to stay out of it, to avoid trouble, but then he saw the leader of the group, a tall boy with a sneer plastered across his face, shove the smaller boy so hard that he stumbled and fell to the ground. "Think you're better than us because your daddy's rich?" The leader, Troy, kicked dirt at the boy's face. The others laughed, egging him on. Darius's heart pounded in his chest. He knew that look in the bully's eyes. It was the same look he had seen in the mirror when he was a teenager. Sish, angry, and lost. But this kid, he did not deserve this. No one did. Without thinking, Darius rose from his spot under the tree and started walking toward the group. His steps were slow but deliberate, each one echoing in his mind like a countdown. "Hey!" Darius called out, his voice firm but calm. The bullies did not hear him at first, too caught up in their cruel game. "I said hey!" The leader finally looked up, his expression shifting from amusement to irritation. "What do you want, old man?" he sneered, trying to cover his surprise with bravado. "Leave him alone," Darius said, his eyes locking onto the bullies. He did not raise his voice, but there was an edge to his tone that made the boys pause. "And who's gonna make us?" one of the other boys challenged, though Troy took a step back, unsure of the man standing before them. Darius did not answer. He simply stared at them, his gaze steady as if daring them to test him. For a moment there was silence, and in that silence the leader seemed to realize that this was not a fight worth picking. "Come on, let's go," Troy muttered, shoving his hands into his pockets. He turned away, the others following reluctantly. "This kid's not worth it." Darius watched them leave, his muscles tense until they were out of sight. Only then did he turn his attention to the boy on the ground. "You all right, kid?" Darius asked, his voice softening as he knelt beside the boy. The boy looked up at him with wide, tear-filled eyes. He nodded, but his small frame was trembling. Darius offered his hand, and after a moment's hesitation, the boy took it, letting Darius help him to his feet. "Thank you," the boy whispered, clutching his backpack tightly to his chest. "I did not know what to do." "You do not need to thank me," Darius said, brushing some dirt off the boy's shoulder. "Those kids are just bullies. They are not as tough as they act." The boy nodded again, wiping his eyes with the back of his hand. "I am Owen," he said, his voice still shaky. "Darius," he replied, giving the boy a small smile. "You should not be out here alone. Where are your folks?" "My dad is coming to pick me up," Owen said, glancing nervously around the park as if expecting the bullies to return at any moment. Darius looked around, noticing for the first time the expensive clothes Owen was wearing and the high-end backpack slung over his shoulder. This kid was from a different world, one far removed from Darius's reality, but in this moment, that did not matter. "All right," Darius said, his voice steady and reassuring. "How about I wait with you until he gets here?" Owen's eyes brightened at the offer, and he nodded eagerly. Darius led him over to the bench he had been sitting on earlier, and they sat down together. The tension in the air slowly dissipated. They did not talk much after that, but the silence was comfortable. Owen seemed to relax just knowing someone was there, someone who would not let the bullies hurt him again. Darius sat quietly, keeping an eye on the park entrance, half expecting trouble to find them again. Minutes passed, and finally a sleek black car pulled up at the park's edge. Owen's face lit up, and he jumped to his feet. Darius stood as well, watching as a tall man in a sharp suit stepped out of the car, his eyes immediately locking onto Owen. "Dad," Owen called, running over to him. The man's stern face softened as he caught sight of his son, and he knelt down to hug him. "Are you okay, Owen? What happened?" Owen pointed back at Darius, who was now standing a few steps away, his hands shoved into his pockets. "Dad, this is Darius. He helped me when some kids were picking on me." Nathan Reed, Owen's father, stood up and looked at Darius, his expression hardening slightly. "Thank you for helping my son," he said, his tone polite but distant. Darius nodded, his eyes meeting Nathan's briefly before dropping to the ground. "Just glad he is all right." Nathan did not respond immediately. Instead, he placed a hand on Owen's shoulder and started guiding him toward the car. "We need to get going, Owen. Say goodbye." Owen looked back at Darius, a small frown on his face. "Bye, Darius, thank you." "Take care, kid," Darius replied, forcing a smile. He watched as they got into the car and drove off, leaving him alone once more in the park. As the sound of the car faded into the distance, Darius let out a long breath and turned back to his spot under the tree. He sat down, pulling his coat tighter around him as the autumn wind began to pick up. The world moved on just as it always did, but today, for a brief moment, Darius had made a difference. He leaned back against the tree, closing his eyes. Tomorrow the struggle would continue, but at least for now he had something to hold on to, a reminder that despite everything, he could still do some good in this world. Darius leaned back against the bench, his eyes half closed as he listened to the rustle of leaves overhead. The adrenaline that had surged through him during the confrontation was fading, leaving behind a dull ache in his bones. He had not been in a fight, but the tension of the moment, the memories it dredged up, left him weary. He thought the boy would have left with his father without looking back, but instead he felt a presence beside him. Opening his eyes, he found Owen standing there, clutching his backpack tightly, a hesitant look on his face. "Can I sit with you?" Owen asked, his voice small and uncertain. Darius raised an eyebrow, surprised. "Should not you be with your dad?" Owen glanced toward the park entrance where the car had driven off. "He is coming back. He just had to take a call." Darius nodded slowly. He was not used to people sticking around after they had gotten what they needed from him, but there was something in the boy's eyes, curiosity maybe, or gratitude, that kept Darius from brushing him off. He shifted over on the bench, making room for Owen. "Sure, kid," Darius said, patting the spot beside him. "Take a seat." Owen climbed onto the bench, his legs swinging above the ground. For a moment they sat in silence, the sounds of the park filling the gap between them. Darius was content to let it be, but he could feel the boy's eyes on him, as if Owen was trying to figure out something he could not quite grasp. "Why did you help me?" Owen asked suddenly, breaking the quiet. Darius did not answer right away. He was not used to explaining himself, especially not to a kid, but something about Owen's earnestness made him consider the question seriously. "Because you needed help," Darius said finally, his voice quiet but firm. "No one should have to face that alone." Owen frowned, as if trying to understand. "But you do not even know me." Darius chuckled softly, the sound more of a breath than anything else. "Do not need to. Helping someone does not mean you have to know them. Sometimes it is enough to just be there." Owen seemed to mull over this, his brows furrowed in thought. "Do you live here?" he asked, looking around the park as if expecting to find a hidden house among the trees. "In a way," Darius replied, avoiding the question directly. "I am around here a lot." Owen did not press further, but Darius could see the wheels turning in his young mind. There was a sharpness to the boy's gaze that reminded Darius of himself at that age, always questioning, always trying to make sense of the world. "Do you have kids?" Owen asked, surprising Darius again with his directness. "No, I do not," Darius said, shaking his head. "Never had a family like that." Owen tilted his head, curiosity shining in his eyes. "Why not?" Darius hesitated, caught off guard by the innocent question. How could he explain the choices, the mistakes, the twists of fate that had led him to this point? He did not want to burden the boy with his life story, a story filled with more downs than ups. "Life just did not turn out that way for me," Darius said simply, hoping that would be enough. Owen seemed to sense that this was a topic best left alone, and he nodded, his attention shifting back to the park. They sat quietly for a few moments, the comfortable silence returning. After a while, Owen spoke again, his voice a bit softer. "Do you get lonely?" Darius blinked, taken aback by the question. Loneliness was something he had grown accustomed to, something he rarely acknowledged even to himself. It was like an old coat he wore daily, frayed at the edges but familiar. "Sometimes," Darius admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "But you get used to it." Owen did not say anything right away. Instead, he pulled his backpack onto his lap, fiddling with the zipper. "I get lonely too," he said finally, his voice so quiet Darius almost did not hear it. Darius looked at the boy, surprised. Owen had a father who clearly cared for him, a life that from the outside seemed full of everything a kid could need. But loneliness did not discriminate. It crept into the hearts of the wealthy and the poor alike. "Why do you feel lonely?" Darius asked gently, careful not to pry too deeply. Owen shrugged, his eyes downcast. My dad is always busy. He is a lawyer, so he works a lot. I do not get to see him much. Darius nodded, understanding more than he let on. He knew what it was like to want someone's time and attention, only to find they were always out of reach. It was a different kind of loneliness, but just as painful. He cares about you though, Darius said, trying to offer some comfort. You can tell just by how he rushed over here when he knew you were in trouble. Owen smiled faintly at that, though the sadness did not completely leave his eyes. Yeah, I know, but I wish he was not so busy all the time. Darius did not have a solution for that. He could not tell the kid that things would magically get better, or that his dad would suddenly have more time. Life did not work that way, and Darius was not one for giving false hope. Instead, he reached over and gave Owen's shoulder a gentle squeeze. You are a strong kid, do not forget that. Owen looked up at Darius, his eyes wide and searching. For a moment, it seemed like he was going to say something, but before he could, the sound of footsteps interrupted them. Nathan Reed was walking back toward them, his phone in hand. The frown on his face softened when he saw Owen. He pocketed the phone and approached the bench, giving Darius a polite nod. Thank you for keeping an eye on him, Nathan said, his tone still formal but less distant than before. No problem, Darius replied, standing up from the bench. Just glad he is safe. Nathan placed a hand on Owen's shoulder, guiding him off the bench. We should get going, Owen. Owen did not move right away. He looked up at Darius, a question in his eyes, but whatever it was, he did not ask it. Instead, he just nodded, his small hand gripping his father's larger one. Will I see you again? Owen asked, his voice hopeful. Darius glanced at Nathan, who watched him carefully, before turning back to Owen. Maybe. You take care, all right? Owen smiled, a small, genuine smile, before he allowed his father to lead him away. Darius watched them go, his heart a little lighter than it had been before. As they walked away, Owen glanced back over his shoulder and waved. Darius raised a hand in return, a rare smile tugging at his lips. He stayed in the park until the sun dipped below the horizon, the last traces of daylight disappearing. For the first time in a long while, Darius felt that the loneliness he carried was not as heavy as it usually was. He had made a connection, however brief, with someone who saw him not as a homeless man, but as a person who had made a difference, and that for now was enough. Nathan Reed gripped the steering wheel, his mind spinning as he navigated the city streets. Owen sat quietly in the back seat, unusually subdued, his small face pressed against the window. Nathan stole a glance at his son through the rearview mirror, worry gnawing at him. Owen had been quiet since they left the park, and Nathan knew something was bothering him. But more than that, Nathan could not shake the image of the man Darius who had been sitting with Owen on that bench. The man's clothes were old and worn, his eyes tired and distant. Nathan had seen people like him before, people living on the margins, forgotten by society, struggling just to survive. He had always been careful to keep a distance, to shield Owen from that world, not because he lacked compassion, but because it was a world filled with dangers he could not always predict or control. Yet today, that very world had collided with his own, and it unsettled him in ways he did not fully understand. Dad? Owen's voice broke the silence, pulling Nathan from his thoughts. Yeah, buddy, Nathan replied, trying to sound as calm as possible. Why did we have to leave so fast? Owen's voice was soft, tinged with disappointment. Nathan took a breath, choosing his words carefully. I just did not want to keep you waiting out there. I know you have had a rough day. Owen did not seem satisfied with the answer. He shifted in his seat, his small hands fiddling with the strap of his backpack. But Darius was nice. He helped me when those kids were being mean. I know, Nathan said, his tone gentler now, and I am really grateful to him for that. Then why did you act like you did not want me to talk to him? Owen's question hung in the air, the innocence behind it making Nathan's chest tighten. Nathan hesitated, unsure how to explain his concerns to his son without sounding judgmental or unfair. He knew the world was not black and white, but as a father, his instinct was to protect, even if that meant erring on the side of caution. Owen, sometimes people we do not know might have their own problems. Nathan began carefully. It is not that they are bad, but we have to be careful, especially when we do not know much about them. Owen was quiet for a moment, processing his father's words. But you did not even talk to him. How do you know he has problems? Nathan sighed, running a hand through his hair. Owen was a smart kid, too smart sometimes. It is not always about what people say, buddy. It is about what you can see. Darius, well, He might be going through some tough times. I just want to make sure you are safe." But he was safe, Owen insisted, a hint of frustration in his voice. "He was the only one who helped me when those boys were being mean. He did not even ask for anything. He just wanted to help." "Gee." Nathan frowned, his grip tightening on the wheel. Owen's words echoed in his mind. It was true, Darius had not asked for anything, had not shown any sign of ulterior motives. But Nathan could not shake the unease that lingered, the protective instinct that flared whenever Owen was involved. They pulled up to their house, a large modern structure in a quiet, upscale neighborhood. The driveway was lined with neatly trimmed hedges, and the porch lights flickered on as they approached. Nathan parked the car and turned to face Owen, who was still staring out the window. "Listen, Owen," Nathan said gently. "I am not saying Darius is a bad person. He might be a good man who just needs some help, but as your dad, it is my job to make sure you are always safe no matter what." Owen finally looked at his father, his eyes searching Nathan's face. "You are always working, Dad. You are not here a lot. But today, Darius was there." The words hit Nathan like a punch to the gut. He knew Owen missed him, knew that his demanding job often kept him away from home longer than he would like, but hearing it from his son so plainly and without accusation made it all the more painful. Nathan took a deep breath, his resolve softening. "I know, buddy, and I am sorry for that. I will try to be around more, okay?" Owen nodded, though the sadness in his eyes lingered. "Can we see Darius again?" Nathan was not sure how to respond. On one hand, he wanted to respect Owen's feelings. Darius had, after all, been there when his son needed help. On the other, Nathan's instinct screamed at him to keep Owen away from any potential risks. "I will think about it," Nathan said, not wanting to make a promise he was not sure he could keep. "Let us get inside and have some dinner, all right?" Owen nodded again, his shoulders slumping slightly as he got out of the car. Nathan followed, his thoughts heavy as they entered the house. The warmth and comfort of home usually brought him some measure of peace, but tonight the unease lingered. Dinner was quiet, the usual chatter replaced by a contemplative silence. Owen picked at his food, his mind clearly elsewhere. Nathan tried to engage him in conversation, but the boy's answers were short, his thoughts still on Darius and the events of the day. After dinner, Owen headed up to his room, leaving Nathan alone at the kitchen table. He leaned back in his chair, staring at the empty plate in front of him. His mind was a whirlwind of conflicting emotions: gratitude toward Darius for protecting Owen, worry about the man's intentions, and guilt over how he had handled the situation. He could not ignore the fact that Darius had done something he had not been able to do: be there for Owen when he needed someone. But Nathan's protectiveness, his need to control the situation, had overshadowed his gratitude, and now he was left wondering if he had made the right call. Nathan pushed back from the table and walked into his study, where stacks of case files and legal documents cluttered his desk. His work was his life. He was good at it, respected for it, but it had also cost him time with his son, time he could not get back. He sat down at the desk, opening one of the files, but the words blurred before his eyes. All he could see was Owen's face, his disappointment, his longing for something Nathan could not always provide. With a sigh, Nathan closed the file and leaned back in his chair. He knew he could not solve everything with work, and he could not protect Owen from every hurt, but he could try to understand, to be there for his son in a way that did not always come naturally to him. And maybe, just maybe, that meant giving Darius a chance, a real chance to prove that his intentions were as good as they seemed. Nathan made a mental note to visit the park again, this time with an open mind. Perhaps Darius was not just a man in need, but someone who could teach them both something about kindness, about being present in a world that often pulled them in different directions. The thought was unsettling, but it was also strangely comforting. For now, it was enough to know that he could try. A clear blue sky filled the day, the kind that seemed to beg for an outing. Nathan could hear the birds chirping outside as he sat at the kitchen table staring into his coffee cup, deep in thought. Owen was upstairs still getting ready. Today they were going back to the park. Nathan had wrestled with the decision all week. His initial reluctance to bring Owen back to the park, to possibly encounter Darius again, had gradually given way to a sense of responsibility. Owen had been right. Darius had been there for him when it mattered. The least Nathan could do was to give the man a fair chance. He was not sure what he would say to Darius if they saw him. The man had saved his son from harm, a debt Nathan felt keenly, but there was also a weariness that he could not completely shake. Nathan had built his life on caution, on carefully managing risks, whether in the courtroom or in his personal life. But today, he was stepping out of that comfort zone, driven by a mix of gratitude and the need to set an example for his son. "Dad, are we going?" Owen's voice broke through Nathan's thoughts. The boy stood at the foot of the stairs, his face lit up with anticipation. He was already wearing his favorite baseball cap, his small backpack slung over one shoulder. Nathan managed to smile, pushing his doubts to the back of his mind. "Yeah, we are going. Let us get going before it gets too hot." The drive to the park was quiet, but it was not the tense silence that had filled the car earlier in the week. Owen was humming softly to himself, his excitement palpable, while Nathan focused on the road, his mind turning over what he might say if they ran into Darius. When they arrived, the park was already bustling with activity. Families were out for walks, kids were running around the playground, and joggers were making their rounds. Nathan scanned the area as they walked in, his eyes instinctively searching for the familiar figure he had seen just days before. "Do you think Darius will be here?" Owen asked, his voice hopeful. Nathan hesitated, not wanting to get Owen's hopes up. "Maybe we will see." "Bos oris osoi." They wandered through the park, passing by the spot where Owen had been bullied. Nathan felt a pang of guilt as he recalled how quickly he had wanted to leave that day, to distance Owen from the whole situation. But seeing the park now, full of life and energy, he understood why Owen had wanted to come back. There was something comforting about the familiarity of the place, even with the memories of what had happened. As they rounded a corner near a cluster of trees, Nathan spotted Darius sitting on a bench, his posture relaxed, but his eyes watchful. He wore the same clothes as before, a well-worn jacket over a faded shirt, but there was a calmness about him that had not been there during their first encounter. He seemed lost in thought, his gaze focused on something in the distance, until Owen's excited shout snapped him out of it. "Darius!" Owen called, breaking into a run toward the bench. Darius looked up, surprise flickering across his face, followed by a smile that softened his features. He stood up as Owen approached, crouching down to meet the boy at eye level. "Hey there, kid," Darius said, his voice warm. "Was not expecting to see you again so soon." Owen grinned, his face lighting up. "We came back to see you, right, Dad?" Nathan, who had been walking a few paces behind, caught up to them. He nodded, feeling slightly awkward but determined to push through it. "Yeah, we thought we would come by the park again." Darius straightened up, his expression guarded as he met Nathan's gaze. "I am glad you did," he said simply. There was a pause, a moment where neither man seemed to know what to say. It was Owen who broke the silence, pulling at Darius's hand. "Will you play catch with us?" Owen asked, his eyes wide with hope. Darius glanced at Nathan as if seeking his approval. Nathan nodded slightly, offering a small smile. "Sure, if you want." Darius's smile returned, this time more genuine. "All right, but I warn you, I am not as fast as I used to be." Owen laughed, already pulling a small baseball out of his backpack. He handed it to Darius before running a few steps away, his excitement infectious. Nathan watched as Darius and Owen began to toss the ball back and forth, their laughter mingling with the sounds of the park. He stayed on the sidelines at first, observing the way Darius interacted with his son. There was an ease to it, a natural rapport that Nathan could not help but admire. Darius was patient, encouraging, never letting the ball stay on the ground for long. He treated Owen not just with kindness, but with a respect that Nathan found himself appreciating more with each passing moment. "Why do not you join us?" Darius called out to Nathan after a while, tossing the ball to him with a grin. Nathan caught the ball, surprised by the invitation. He had not expected to be included so soon, but the genuine tone in Darius's voice made it clear that the offer was sincere. With a smile, Nathan stepped into the game, throwing the ball back to Owen, who caught it with a triumphant shout. The three of them played together, the tension that had lingered between Nathan and Darius slowly dissolving as the game went on. There were no deep conversations, no probing questions, just the simple shared joy of a game of catch. As they played, Nathan found himself relaxing in a way he had not in a long time. He was used to being in control, to analyzing every situation from every angle, but here, under the warm sun, with his son's laughter filling the air, he let go of that need, if only for a little while. He realized that Darius was not just a stranger who had saved his son. He was a man with his own story, his own struggles, and perhaps his own need for connection. After about an hour, they finally called it a day, all of them a little winded, but smiling. Owen was flushed with happiness, his earlier reticence completely gone. Nathan could see how much this moment meant to him, how much he had needed it. "Thanks for playing with us," Owen said as they walked back toward the park entrance. "Anytime, kid," Darius replied, ruffling Owen's hair. He turned to Nathan, his tone shifting slightly. "And thank you for giving me a chance." Nathan nodded, meeting Darius's gaze. "I am the one who should be thanking you for what you did for Owen. I was not sure at first, but I can see now that you are a good man, Darius." Darius smiled, a faint trace of sadness in his eyes. "I have made my share of mistakes, Mr. Reed, but I am trying to make up for them." Nathan considered that, feeling a pang of understanding. Everyone had their own battles, their own regrets. Darius's journey had clearly been a difficult one, but it was one he was still walking, still trying to find his way. "Maybe we can help each other," Nathan said, the offer coming from a place he had not expected. "If you ever need anything, do not hesitate to ask." Darius looked surprised, but there was gratitude in his eyes. "I appreciate that more than you know." They exchanged a look, a mutual understanding passing between them. It was not the start of a friendship, not yet, but it was the beginning of something, a bridge between two very different lives. As they parted ways, with Owen giving Darius a final wave, Nathan felt a sense of peace settle over him. The doubts that had plagued him earlier were still there, but they were quieter now, overshadowed by the feeling that he had done the right thing. Darius had protected his son when he could not. And now, in some small way, Nathan had repaid that kindness. But more than that, he had shown Owen what it meant to trust, to give people a chance, even when it was not easy. And for that, Nathan felt a sense of pride that warmed him from the inside out. As they drove home, with Owen chattering happily in the back seat, Nathan realized that today had been more than just a return to the park. It had been a step forward for all of them. The next weekend came around faster than Nathan expected. He found himself looking forward to it, though he would not have admitted that out loud. The past week had been busy with work, the usual grind of cases and court appearances, but in the quiet moments between his thoughts often drifted back to that day in the park, more specifically to Darius. Nathan had always prided himself on his ability to read people. In his line of work, it was a skill that often meant the difference between winning and losing a case, but Darius had thrown him off balance. There was something about the man that did not fit neatly into the boxes Nathan usually used to categorize people. Darius had saved his son, yes, but there was more to him, layers that Nathan could not quite see yet, but wanted to understand. It was this curiosity, mixed with a growing respect, that led Nathan to suggest another trip to the park. Owen was all too eager, practically bouncing with excitement at the idea, and so with a sense of purpose that surprised even himself. Nathan packed a small cooler with sandwiches and drinks, a gesture that felt both casual and significant. They arrived at the park just before noon. The day was warm, but a gentle breeze kept the heat at bay. Families were out enjoying the sun, children's laughter echoing through the trees. As they walked toward the familiar bench, Nathan spotted Darius sitting in the same place as before, his posture relaxed but his gaze thoughtful. "Dad, there he is!" Owen's voice broke through Nathan's thoughts, and before he could respond, the boy was already running ahead. Darius looked up, a smile breaking across his face as he saw Owen approaching. He stood to greet the boy, crouching down to give him a high five. By the time Nathan caught up, the two were already deep in conversation, Owen excitedly recounting his week at school. "Hey, Darius," Nathan said, offering a nod as he approached. "James," Darius replied, straightening up. There was a warmth in his voice that had not been there before, a familiarity that made the greeting feel more genuine. Nathan gestured to the cooler he was carrying. "We brought some lunch if you would like to join us." Darius's eyes flickered with surprise, but he quickly nodded. "I would like that." They found a spot under a large oak tree, the shade providing a welcome respite from the sun. Nathan spread out a blanket, and they all settled down, Owen digging into his sandwich with the enthusiasm only a child could muster. For a while, the three of them ate in companionable silence, the quiet punctuated by the occasional comment from Owen about school or the park. It was not until they had finished eating that Nathan decided to broach the topic that had been on his mind all week. "Darius," Nathan began, his tone careful, "I have been thinking a lot about what you said last time about making up for mistakes." Darius's expression shifted, the easy smile fading slightly as a more guarded look took its place. He sat down his water bottle, his hands resting in his lap. "Yeah," Nathan nodded, choosing his words carefully. "I do not want to pry, but I think it might help if you talked about it sometimes. Sharing your story can be a way to move forward." Darius looked away. his gaze fixed on a point in the distance. For a moment, Nathan worried that he had overstepped, pushed too hard, but then Darius sighed a deep, weary sound, and when he spoke, his voice was low, almost as if he was speaking to himself. "It is a long story, Nathan, and not a pretty one." Nathan nodded, his expression encouraging. "I have got time." Owen, sensing the shift in the conversation, looked between the two men. "Is it a sad story?" Darius smiled faintly, though there was no humor in it. "Yeah, kid, it is a sad one." Nathan placed a reassuring hand on Owen's shoulder, then turned his attention back to Darius. "We are listening. OECD." Darius was silent for a few moments, gathering his thoughts. When he finally spoke, his voice was steady, but there was an undercurrent of emotion that Nathan had not heard before. "I was not always like this," Darius began, gesturing vaguely to his worn clothes and tired appearance. "I had a life, a good one at least by most standards. Grew up in a decent neighborhood, went to school, got a job. I worked as a mechanic for years. Loved it too. There is something honest about working with your hands, fixing things that are broken." Nathan nodded, listening intently as Darius continued. "But life does not always go the way you plan," Darius said, his tone darkening. "I got mixed up with the wrong crowd, old friends mostly. We started drinking, doing drugs, just to take the edge off at first. It was just a way to unwind, but before I knew it, I was in deep. Lost my job, my home, everything." He paused, swallowing hard. "I tried to get clean more than once. But it is not easy when you have got no support, no one who believes in you. Eventually, I just gave up. Figured this was how it was going to be for the rest of my life." Owen was watching Darius with wide eyes, the gravity of the story not lost on him. Nathan felt a tightness in his chest as he listened, the weight of Darius's words heavy in the air. "What happened then?" Nathan asked quietly. Darius shrugged, though the gesture was far from casual. "I drifted. Ended up on the streets just trying to survive. It is funny in a way. I used to fix things for a living, but I could not fix my own life. I was angry for a long time, at myself, at the world, but that kind of anger, it eats away at you." He looked down at his hands, the calluses and scars a testament to the life he had lived. "I have been clean for a while now, but it is not easy. Every day is a fight, and some days I wonder if it is even worth it." Nathan felt a surge of empathy for the man sitting across from him. Darius's story was one of loss and struggle, but it was also one of resilience. He had been through hell, and though he was still standing, the journey had taken its toll. "You are here," Nathan said, his voice firm, "and that counts for something. You saved my son, Darius. That means you are worth something." Darius looked up, his eyes filled with a mix of emotions, gratitude, disbelief, hope. "I do not know if I believe that," he admitted, "but hearing it helps." Owen, who had been listening quietly, suddenly spoke up. "You are a good person, Darius. You helped me when no one else did." Darius's expression softened, and he reached out to ruffle Owen's hair. "Thanks, kid. That means a lot." There was a moment of silence as they all absorbed the weight of what had been shared. Nathan could see the toll that Darius's past had taken on him, the way it had shaped the man he was today. But he also saw something else, a determination to keep going, to try and make things right, even when it seemed impossible. Nathan cleared his throat, his voice steady. "Darius, I want to help. I do not know exactly how yet, but I think we can figure it out together." Darius looked at him, some surprise flickering across his face. "You do not have to do that, Nathan. I have made my peace with where I am." "I am not doing it out of pity," Nathan replied firmly. "I am doing it because I believe in second chances, and because you have shown me that you deserve one." Darius was quiet for a long moment, his eyes searching Nathan's face as if trying to find some hidden motive, but all he found was sincerity, and it was that sincerity that finally broke through the walls he had built around himself. "All right," Darius said finally, his voice low. "I am not sure where to start, but all right." Nathan smiled, a sense of purpose settling over him. "We will figure it out one step at a time." "Yes, I'll go rise, so says God." As they packed up and prepared to leave the park, Nathan felt a sense of hope that he had not expected. Darius's story was far from over, and there were still battles to be fought. But for the first time, Nathan felt like they were on the right path. Owen walked between them, holding Darius's hand on one side and Nathan's on the other. The sun was beginning to set, casting long shadows across the park, but the warmth in the air remained. As they walked, Nathan could not help but feel that in some small way they were all beginning to heal, and perhaps, just perhaps, this was the start of something new, a chance for all of them to find the redemption they needed together. Monday morning arrived with its usual bustle, but Nathan had an added layer of anticipation. He had managed to arrange a meeting for Darius, a job interview at a local auto repair shop. The shop was a reputable one, known for its quality work and community involvement, and Nathan felt it could be a good fit for Darius given his background in mechanics. As Nathan drove Owen to school, he glanced at the clock. He still had a bit of time before the interview. Owen was unusually quiet, his usual chatter replaced by a thoughtful silence. "Excited for school today?" Nathan asked, attempting to break the silence. Owen shrugged, not meeting his father's eyes. "Yeah, I guess." Nathan could tell there was more on Owen's mind. "You okay?" Owen looked up, his eyes filled with a mixture of hope and concern. "I just hope Darius gets the job. He is really nice, Dad. I want him to be happy." Nathan smiled, feeling a surge of pride at Owen's empathy. "Me too, buddy. Darius deserves a chance to get his life back on track. We will do everything we can to help him." Owen nodded, his face brightening a little. "I know you are trying to help him, Dad. Thanks." They arrived at the school, and Nathan gave Owen a quick hug before watching him head inside. As he drove away, Nathan's thoughts turned to Darius. He hoped the interview would go well, but he knew there were challenges ahead. Darius's past would likely come up, and Nathan was not sure how the shop owner would react. At the auto repair shop, Nathan arrived early to make sure everything was set up. The shop was a bustling place with mechanics working on cars in various stages of repair. The smell of motor oil and gasoline filled the air, mingling with the sounds of tools clanking and engines rumbling. The shop owner, a burly man named Hank, greeted Nathan with a firm handshake. Hank was known for his gruff exterior but had a reputation for being fair and giving people a chance. "Morning, Nathan," Hank said, wiping his hands on a rag. "You ready for this?" Nathan nodded, feeling a mix of nerves and determination. "Yeah, Darius should be here soon." Hank glanced at the clock. "Got a few minutes. I will show you around while we wait." Nathan followed Hank through the shop, observing the organized chaos. The place was clean and well-maintained, with various tools and equipment neatly arranged. Hank explained the shop's operations, his pride in his work evident. "So, what is the story with this Darius guy?" Hank asked as they walked. Nathan took a deep breath, choosing his words carefully. "Darius has had a rough time recently, but he has got experience in mechanics. He is trying to turn his life around. I think he is worth giving a chance." Hank nodded slowly, his expression thoughtful. "Everyone has got a past, Nathan. It is what they do with it that counts." Before Nathan could respond, the door to the shop opened, and Darius stepped inside. He looked nervous, his clothes clean but still worn, and he carried a small duffel bag slung over one shoulder. As he approached, Nathan could see the mix of determination and anxiety on his face. "Hey, Darius." Nathan greeted him, trying to offer a reassuring smile. Darius returned the smile, though it was hesitant. "Hi, Nathan." Hank stepped forward, extending a hand. "Hank, glad you could make it. Ready for the interview?" Darius shook Hank's hand, nodding. "Yes, sir. Ready as I will ever be." "Great. Let us get started," Hank said, leading Darius to a small office at the back of the shop. Nathan followed, taking a seat on one of the chairs outside the office as Hank closed the door behind them. The interview began with standard questions about Darius's experience and skills. Nathan listened through the thin walls, catching snippets of Darius's answers. Darius spoke about his previous work, his skills in repairing various types of vehicles, and his commitment to getting clean. His voice was steady, though there was an edge of uncertainty that Nathan could hear. "Cheers." After a while, the office door opened, and Darius emerged, his face a mask of nervous anticipation. Hank followed him, his expression unreadable. "Thanks for coming in, Darius," Hank said, offering a firm handshake. "We will be in touch soon." Darius took the handshake with a nod, then turned to Nathan. "How did it go?" Nathan could see the anxiety in Darius's eyes, the way he was holding himself. "I think it went well," Nathan said, trying to sound positive. Hank seemed interested. Darius managed a small, hopeful smile. "I hope so. They left the shop together. Darius's steps were slow and thoughtful. Nathan could sense the weight of the moment, the hope and uncertainty that Darius carried with him. "Do you want to grab a coffee or something?" Nathan offered, wanting to give Darius some encouragement. Darius shook his head, though he looked grateful. "No thanks. I think I just need some time to think." Nathan nodded, understanding. "All right, just know that whatever happens, you have got support. We are in this together." Darius nodded, his eyes meeting Nathan's with a mixture of gratitude and nervousness. "I appreciate that. Thanks, Nathan." As Darius walked away, Nathan watched him go, feeling a pang of empathy. He knew that the outcome of the interview was still uncertain, but he admired Darius's courage and determination. Nathan drove home, the day's events weighing heavily on his mind. He hoped that Darius would get the job, that this would be the break he needed to start over. But beyond that, Nathan hoped that Darius would find a sense of purpose and belonging, something that had been missing for a long time. When he arrived home, Owen was already back from school, his face bright with excitement. "How did it go? Did Darius get the job?" Nathan sat down beside him, his smile reassuring. "We do not know yet. Hank said he would be in touch soon." Owen's face fell slightly, but he tried to stay optimistic. "I hope he gets it. He really deserves a chance." Nathan wrapped an arm around Owen, feeling a sense of pride in his son's unwavering support for Darius. "So do I, buddy. So do I." They spent the evening together, the atmosphere in the house warm and comforting. Nathan found himself reflecting on the day's events as he prepared for bed. Nathan felt a renewed sense of purpose. Helping Darius was more than just a favor. It was a chance to make a difference, to offer support and understanding in a world that often lacked both. And as he closed his eyes, he hoped that Darius would find the opportunity he needed to rebuild his life, and that in some small way he had played a part in that journey. A light drizzle turned the city streets slick and shiny. Nathan had just finished his morning routine and was sipping coffee at the kitchen table when his phone buzzed on the countertop. The screen flashed Hank's name. His heart skipped a beat. He had been waiting for this call. He took a deep breath and answered. "Nathan Reed." "Hey, Nathan." Hank's voice came through, steady and no nonsense. "Got a moment to talk?" "Of course," Nathan replied, trying to keep his tone casual despite the flutter of anticipation in his chest. "I wanted to let you know we are offering Darius the job," Hank said. "He starts soon." Nathan felt a wave of relief wash over him. "That is great news. Thank you, Hank." "No problem," Hank said. "Darius has got skills. He needs a shot, and I think he will work out well here." After ending the call, Nathan leaned back in his chair, a satisfied smile spreading across his face. Darius had done it. He had gotten the job. Nathan knew it was just the beginning of Darius's journey, but it was a significant step forward. He could not wait to share the news with Darius. Quickly, he grabbed his jacket and headed out the door. It was still drizzling outside, but Nathan barely noticed the weather as he made his way to the park. When he arrived, the park was quieter than usual, the rain keeping most people indoors. Nathan scanned the area and spotted Darius sitting on their usual bench, his posture relaxed, but his eyes focused on the ground. "Darius!" Nathan called out as he approached. Darius looked up, his expression unreadable. "I have got news." Darius stood up, a faint hint of curiosity in his eyes. "Good news, I hope." Nathan nodded, his excitement barely contained. "Hank called. You start soon." Darius's eyes widened, and for a moment he was silent. Then a broad smile broke across his face, a smile full of relief and joy. "Are you serious?" "Absolutely," Nathan said, his own smile growing. "Hank said he was impressed with your skills. This is your chance to get back on your feet." Darius let out a deep breath, the tension in his shoulders easing. "Thank you, Nathan. I did not know what to expect. I was afraid I might have messed it up." "You did not," Nathan assured him. "You were honest, and you showed them what you could do. That is what counts." Darius's smile did not fade. "I have been looking for something like this for a long time. It means more than you know." Nathan nodded, feeling a sense of satisfaction. "I am glad. And remember, if you need anything, just let me know. This is a new beginning for you." As they walked together, Darius seemed lighter, more relaxed. The rain had eased to a drizzle, and the park's colors seemed more vivid against the gray sky. Nathan could see how much the job offer meant to Darius, how it was like a beacon of hope in a long, dark tunnel. "Have you told anyone else?" Nathan asked as they approached the playground where Owen was playing. Darius shook his head. Not yet. I wanted to wait until I knew for sure. Nathan nodded, understanding. Well, I am sure Owen will be thrilled to hear the news. They reached the playground just as Owen was running toward them, his face bright with curiosity. What is going on? Did Darius get the job? Nathan grinned, ruffling Owen's hair. He did. Darius starts soon. Owen's face lit up with excitement. That is awesome, Darius. You are going to be great. Darius laughed, the sound rich with genuine happiness. Thanks, kid. I hope so. They spent the rest of the afternoon at the park, the conversation flowing easily. Darius and Owen played on the swings, laughing and chatting about everything from school to the new job. Nathan watched them with a sense of contentment, seeing how much Darius's presence had already begun to positively impact Owen's life. As the sun began to set, painting the sky with hues of orange and pink, Nathan felt a profound sense of accomplishment. Darius's new job was more than just a step toward financial stability. It was a chance for a fresh start, a way to rebuild and find a new sense of purpose. When it was time to leave, Darius walked with Nathan and Owen to their car. He turned to Nathan, his expression serious but hopeful. I cannot thank you enough for this, Nathan. It means a lot. Nathan placed a reassuring hand on Darius's shoulder. You earned it. Just keep working hard and believe in yourself. That is all anyone can ask. Darius nodded, his eyes filled with gratitude. I will, and I will not forget this. As they said their goodbyes, Nathan felt a renewed sense of optimism. The road ahead for Darius was still uncertain, but the offer of a job was a significant turning point. It was a chance to prove himself, to find stability, and to make a positive change in his life. Driving home, Owen chattered excitedly about Darius's new job, his enthusiasm infectious. Nathan listened, feeling a deep sense of satisfaction. He had helped someone in need, and in doing so had made a positive difference in their lives. As the car pulled into the driveway and the evening settled over their neighborhood, Nathan looked at his son, feeling grateful for the bond they shared and the opportunity to help others. The future was always uncertain, but for the first time in a long while, it felt full of promise and hope. The first day of Darius's new job arrived with a mix of excitement and nerves. Nathan could tell Darius had been up early. Darius's enthusiasm was palpable, but so was his anxiety. Nathan had offered to give him a ride to the shop, a gesture of support that Darius had gratefully accepted. Nathan and Darius were in the car, the city passing by in a blur of early morning activity. Darius sat in the passenger seat, his hands gripping the edge of his jacket, his gaze fixed on the passing streets. You ready for this? Nathan asked, trying to sound casual. Darius looked over, his eyes betraying a hint of uncertainty. Yeah, nervous but ready. I have not done this in a while. Nathan nodded. It is normal to be nervous, but you have got the skills. Just focus on showing them what you can do. Darius managed a small smile, though it was tinged with apprehension. Thanks for the ride. I know it is just a small thing, but it means a lot. No problem, Nathan said. You have done a lot for us. It is the least I can do. As they pulled into the parking lot of the auto repair shop, Nathan could see the hustle and bustle of the morning shift already in full swing. Mechanics were moving in and out, tools were clinking, and the smell of motor oil and gasoline hung in the air. Nathan parked the car and turned to Darius. This is it. Just remember, take it one step at a time. You have got this. Darius nodded, taking a deep breath. All right, I will see you after work. Absolutely, Nathan said, giving him a reassuring pat on the shoulder. Good luck. Hey. Darius stepped out of the car and made his way toward the shop. Nathan watched him go, his heart filled with hope and encouragement. It was a big day for Darius, and Nathan knew it was only the beginning of what would be a challenging but rewarding journey. As Nathan drove home, his thoughts turned to Owen, who was eagerly waiting for news about Darius's first day. When he arrived, Owen was already at the door, his face bright with curiosity. How did it go? Owen asked, his eyes wide with anticipation. Nathan knelt down to Owen's level, giving him a smile. Darius's first day went well. He was nervous, but he has got the job, and that is a big step. Owen's face lit up with excitement. That is awesome! I am really happy for him. Nathan ruffled Owen's hair, feeling a surge of pride in his son's positive attitude. Me too, buddy. Darius has got a chance to turn things around, and it is thanks to everyone who believed in him. The day passed in a routine of work and chores. But Nathan found himself checking his phone often, hoping for a message or call from Darius. By late afternoon, as he was finishing up some work at home, his phone buzzed with a text message. It was from Darius. "First day went well. Exhausted but feeling good. Thanks for everything." Nathan read the message with a sense of relief and satisfaction. Darius's first day had gone smoothly, and that was a positive sign. When Owen came home from school, he was bubbling with questions. "How is Darius doing? Did he say anything about his day?" Nathan nodded, showing Owen the text message. He said it went well. He is tired, but he is feeling good about it. Owen grinned. "That is great. I cannot wait to see him again." Later that evening, as Nathan and Owen were having dinner, the doorbell rang. Nathan answered it to find Darius standing on the porch, his expression tired but happy. "Hey, Darius," Nathan greeted him, stepping aside to let him in. "How was your first day?" Darius stepped inside, a grateful smile on his face. "It was good. Busy, but good. Everyone was welcoming, and I think I am going to fit in well here." Owen came running up to greet Darius, his excitement evident. "Did you fix any cars today?" Darius laughed, the sound genuine and light. "Yes, I did. I worked on a couple of engines and did some routine maintenance. It felt good to be back in the shop." Nathan noticed the difference in Darius's demeanor. The nervousness that had been there before was replaced with a quiet confidence. It was clear that the job was more than just a way to make money. It was a way for Darius to reclaim a part of himself. As they all sat down for dinner, Nathan and Darius chatted about the day, Darius sharing small anecdotes and details about his work. The conversation was easy, and it was clear that Darius was beginning to feel more at ease in his new role. After dinner, Nathan and Darius helped Owen with his homework, Darius offering some tips and encouragement as Owen worked through his math problems. The evening passed in a comfortable rhythm, a blend of laughter and conversation that made it clear how much Darius's presence had already begun to positively impact their lives. When Darius finally said his goodbyes and headed home, Nathan felt a deep sense of contentment. Darius's first day had gone well, and the positive changes were already evident. It was not just about the job, it was about the hope and new beginnings that came with it. As Nathan and Owen settled down for the night, Nathan could not help but reflect on how far Darius had come in such a short time. The road ahead would still have its challenges, but Darius was on a path to rebuilding his life one step at a time. And as he tucked Owen into bed, Nathan felt a sense of fulfillment. Helping Darius had been more than just a gesture of kindness. It had been a chance to make a real difference, to support someone in their journey toward a better future. Nathan kissed Owen goodnight and turned off the light, feeling a renewed sense of hope for the days ahead. The future was always uncertain, but with each new step, it felt a little brighter. The first few weeks of Darius's new job were filled with a whirlwind of activity. Mornings began early, with Darius arriving at the shop eager to get a head start. By now, he had settled into a routine. But the weight of his past still lingered, making each day a balancing act between the new stability and old insecurities. Nathan noticed Darius's growing confidence, but also observed subtle signs of strain. One evening, as they were wrapping up dinner, Darius seemed distant, his focus drifting. Owen was recounting a story from school, and Darius was only half listening, his mind clearly elsewhere. "Hey, Darius, you okay?" Nathan asked, noting Darius's distracted demeanor. Darius looked up, his expression momentarily guarded before he forced a smile. "Yeah, just a long day. Nothing to worry about." Nathan was not convinced, but he let it slide. He could tell Darius was trying to handle things on his own, perhaps not wanting to burden others with his problems. It was not unusual for people in Darius's situation to struggle in silence. The next morning, Nathan was heading to the office when he saw Darius sitting on the steps of his small apartment building. Darius was fiddling with his phone, his brow furrowed in concentration. Nathan hesitated for a moment before approaching him. "Morning, Darius," Nathan greeted, trying to keep his tone light. "Everything all right?" Darius looked up, a flicker of surprise crossing his face. "Oh, hey, Nathan. Yeah, just a bit of a rough start this morning. Got a few issues I am trying to sort out." Nathan nodded, sensing that Darius's troubles went beyond just a rough start. "Anything I can help with?" Darius hesitated, then shook his head. "No, it is just some financial stuff. I have got a few bills piling up, and it has been a bit overwhelming." Nathan listened, feeling a pang of empathy. He knew that financial strain could add to the pressure of trying to rebuild one's life. "If you need any help or advice, I am here." Sometimes just talking things out can make a difference. Darius appreciated the offer, but was clearly reluctant to accept it. "Thanks, Nathan. I will manage. I do not want to put you out." Nathan put a reassuring hand on Darius's shoulder. "It is no trouble. We all need a little help sometimes." "Okay, see for real." As Nathan left for work, he could not shake the concern he felt for Darius. He knew that the pressure of his new job combined with financial worries was a heavy burden. It was clear that Darius was trying hard to keep his life on track, but the struggle was evident. Later that day, Nathan was in his office when he received a call from Darius. The tone of the conversation was professional, but Nathan could sense an underlying tension in Darius's voice. "Hey, Nathan, I am going to need to adjust my schedule a bit. Things have been a bit hectic at work, and I have got some personal stuff to sort out." Nathan could hear the strain in Darius's voice. "Is everything okay?" Darius hesitated before responding. "Yeah, just juggling a lot right now. I will manage, but I might need to take a bit of time to get things sorted." Nathan wanted to offer more help, but was aware of Darius's pride. "All right, just let me know if you need anything. We are here to support you." After the call, Nathan spent the rest of the day thinking about Darius. He knew that offering support without overstepping boundaries was delicate. Darius was clearly struggling with more than just the challenges of a new job. The weight of past mistakes and current financial pressures was taking its toll. In the evening, Nathan decided to visit Darius's apartment, hoping to offer some practical help. He knocked on the door, and Darius answered, looking surprised, but pleased to see him. "Hey, Nathan, what is up?" Darius asked, his voice more relaxed than it had been on the phone. "I just wanted to check in," Nathan said, stepping inside. "How are things really going?" Darius sighed, a hint of relief in his eyes. "It has been tough. I am trying to keep up with the bills, and work has been demanding. I guess I did not realize how much it would all pile up." Nathan took a seat at the small dining table, noticing the stack of unopened bills and paperwork. "I know it is not easy. Maybe we can go through some of this together. I might be able to help you find some resources or advice." Darius looked at the papers, his shoulders slumping slightly. "I would appreciate that. I did not want to admit it, but it has been overwhelming." As they worked through the paperwork, Nathan offered practical advice and solutions, helping Darius understand his options. They spent the evening discussing budgeting, potential assistance programs, and ways to manage his finances more effectively. By the end of the night, Darius looked visibly relieved, a burden lifted from his shoulders. "Thanks, Nathan. I did not realize how much I needed this." Nathan nodded, feeling a sense of accomplishment. "No problem. You have been doing a great job, and sometimes everyone needs a little help." As Nathan left Darius's apartment, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. Supporting Darius through these challenges was more than just a kind gesture. It was a way to help him rebuild his life step by step. The struggle was real, but so was the support from friends and community. Back home, Owen was already asleep, his dreams filled with the excitement of Darius's new job and their growing friendship. Nathan reflected on how much Darius had already achieved and how important it was to continue offering support during this crucial time. Nathan settled into his own evening routine, feeling a mixture of exhaustion and satisfaction. The path ahead for Darius was still fraught with challenges, but Nathan was committed to being there every step of the way. It was about more than just a job. It was about offering a lifeline and being a part of Darius's journey toward a brighter future. As Nathan turned off the lights and headed to bed, he felt a quiet confidence that despite the struggles, things were moving in a positive direction. With each small step, Darius was moving closer to overcoming his past and finding a new sense of stability and hope. The days had begun to stretch into a rhythm of early mornings and long hours for Darius. His dedication to the job was evident, but so was the weariness that came with it. Despite the financial strain and the emotional toll of rebuilding his life, Darius had begun to find a new sense of purpose in his work. However, it was clear that he was still grappling with the shadows of his past, which lingered even in moments of progress. One Friday evening, Nathan and Owen decided to visit Darius's apartment with a small gesture of encouragement. Owen had been eager to share a drawing he had made at school, and Nathan thought it might be a good way to lift Darius's spirits. They arrived just as Darius was finishing up a late shift, the faint hum of car engines and the distant city sounds filling the air. Darius opened the door, his face lighting up at the sight of Nathan and Owen. "Hey, Nathan! Owen! What brings you here?" Owen held up the drawing with a proud smile. "I made this at school. It is a picture of the park where we play. I wanted to give it to you." Darius took the drawing, his eyes softening as he looked at it. Wow, this is amazing, Owen. Thanks. It is great to have a reminder of the park. Nathan noticed the slight relaxation in Darius's posture as he admired the drawing. We thought it might brighten your day, Nathan said, stepping inside. How is work going? Darius sighed, the weight of exhaustion evident. It has been busy, but manageable. I am still adjusting to the pace, but it is getting better. Owen wandered around the small apartment, taking in the details of Darius's new life. Do you have any plans for the weekend, Darius? Darius shook his head. Not really. I was thinking of catching up on some rest and maybe organizing a few things around here. Nathan nodded, sensing Darius's need for a break. How about we help you out? We could spend some time organizing and maybe even grab a bite to eat afterward. It is important to take some time for yourself. Darius looked at them, a mix of gratitude and hesitation in his eyes. I would appreciate that. It has been a while since I had a chance to just relax. As a seal. They spent the next few hours cleaning and organizing Darius's apartment. Owen eagerly helped, sorting through items and placing them in neat piles. Darius, although tired, seemed to enjoy the company and the distraction from his daily worries. As they worked, Nathan struck up a conversation with Darius. You have made a lot of progress. It is not just about the job, it is about rebuilding your life, and you are doing great. Darius looked around his apartment, taking in the organized space and the warmth of the evening. It feels good to have a bit of order. It has been tough, but I am starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Nathan could see the change in Darius's demeanor. The burden of his past was still there, but it was beginning to lift. Sometimes it is the small victories that make the biggest difference. You are making strides, Darius. Just remember that it is okay to lean on others when you need to. Darius nodded, his expression thoughtful. I have been trying to handle everything on my own, but I realize now that asking for help is not a weakness. It is part of moving forward. As the evening drew to a close, they decided to go out for dinner. Darius chose a small, cozy diner nearby, a place he had discovered recently. Over burgers and fries, the conversation flowed easily, and the atmosphere was light and relaxed. Owen chattered about school and his latest adventures while Darius and Nathan discussed work, life, and everything in between. Darius seemed more at ease, his laughter more genuine, his demeanor more relaxed. It was clear that the support and companionship were helping him navigate the complexities of his new life. After dinner, they walked back to Darius's apartment, where Nathan and Owen said their goodbyes. Darius stood in the doorway, a genuine smile on his face. Thanks for today. It really helped. Nathan placed a reassuring hand on Darius's shoulder. Anytime. We are all in this together. Do not hesitate to reach out if you need anything. Darius nodded, his eyes filled with appreciation. I will not forget that. It means a lot to me. As Nathan and Owen drove home, Owen was quiet, absorbed in his thoughts. Nathan glanced over, curious. What is on your mind, buddy? Owen turned to his dad, a thoughtful expression on his face. I think Darius is really starting to be happy again. He seems different, like he is finding his way. Nathan smiled, touched by his son's insight. Yes, he is. It is a journey, but he is making progress, and your drawing made a big difference too. Owen beamed, proud of his contribution. I am glad. I want him to be happy. Back at home, as Nathan and Owen settled in for the night, Nathan reflected on the day's events. Darius was finding a new perspective, and though the road ahead was still challenging, there was a renewed sense of hope and possibility. Nathan knew that Darius's journey was far from over, but the supportive friends and the small steps forward were making a real difference. It was not just about finding a job or managing finances. It was about rebuilding confidence, finding joy, and embracing a new beginning. As Nathan tucked Owen into bed and wished him good night, he felt a deep sense of satisfaction. Helping Darius through these challenges had been a significant endeavor, but it was clear that the effort was paying off. The future was still uncertain, but with each step Darius took, it felt a little brighter. Nathan turned off the light and headed to his own room, feeling a renewed sense of purpose and hope. The journey was ongoing, but the positive changes were a testament to the power of support, friendship, and the resilience of the human spirit. I hope you enjoyed that story. Please share it with your friends and subscribe so that you do not miss out on the next one. In the meantime, I have handpicked 2 stories for you that I think you will enjoy. Have a great day.